Alright, this is Andrew with Roto Home Inspections. We're doing a sewer scope today here in Salt Lake City. Today is September 13th, 2023, and we're at 264 East Rosewood Ave. We have the camera pushed out 100 feet to the city connection, so a pretty average length of a sewer line here. 100 feet is what I generally say is the average length of the line. This first connection point is called the nose line. That's where it goes from the lateral line into the main city line. Right after the nose on, or right before it rather, towards the house, there's a couple pretty significant offsets. You can see right here where the pipes have slipped and they've become disconnected. That's a spot where waste could collect on that lip, and that could create a blockage, which could lead to a backup. Water could get through there, which could cause it to continue to settle. It's possible that those pipes might slip completely, where they're completely disconnected. All of those could lead to a backup, and the only way to permanently fix that spot would be to dig it up and do a spot repair at a minimum. You could also, do a more extensive repair and replace more of the line, but at a minimum, I'd recommend having that spot dug up and repaired. And that's right where it's going into the city line, which is usually in the street, which is generally going to really add to the expense, because not only are you digging, you're then also repairing asphalt. And this lateral line is a homeowner's responsibility until it hits the city line. And so just because it's in the road doesn't mean that that's someone else's responsibility. A little offset there, not a huge one. Here's another small one. Again, those are more typical, more common. Not seeing any standing water. Well, right as I say that, there's a tiny bit, but that's very minor. So overall, it looks like you have good grades so far. Here's a pretty significant root. You definitely want to have that hydrojetted out or cleaned out. There's different ways to do it, but hydrojetting is very effective. A hydrojet will blast everything out of the line and make that spot nice and smooth again, so that waste isn't going to get caught. We're transitioning to cast iron. Cast iron is what's under the house. Cast iron gets real rough and rusty, as you can see on the screen. You want to avoid putting wet wipes or feminine hygiene products down the line. Nothing down the line that you don't absolutely need to put down the line. Otherwise, you can get caught and create a blockage. Even things that you need to put down the line could also get caught. Eventually, this cast iron will need to be replaced. I would recommend getting it picoted. It's P-I-C-O-T-E, picote. That's where they cut off all this scale and build up with a chain cutter, and that makes it nice and smooth again, and that can help prevent a blockage. Here's some waste stuck in the line. Not that it makes a huge difference, so I'm trying to figure out what that is. It looks kind of like mesh of some sort. It could be a wet wipe, but it looks more like cloth. Having it picoted will remove that as well, but here's some more waste kind of stuck to the edges, and that's just toilet paper. That's a good example of what can happen and what would likely continue to happen in the future with this cast iron. And the cast iron's under the house, so if this did need to be replaced, that would mean digging up the slab in the basement. Very common for the age. I would recommend getting insurance on the line. That way, if and when it does have a more significant issue, they can help offset the costs. I don't think that the spot out in the road will be covered now that you're aware of the issue. If you have insurance on the line, they make you wait an extended amount of time. I think it's a month or 60 days, something like that, before you can have the line repaired. And also, they wouldn't just coat this line for you. The insurance is great if you have an issue occur, but it would need to back up before you can clean the line. Alright, now we're coming back up the roof stack. I did access this line has waste stuck on it. I'd recommend getting that cleaned, coated. And then lastly, you had a big root. You want to have that hydrojetted out. Roots are more of a maintenance item. Once you have them, you're always going to have them, but it's good to stay on top of them and have them cleaned proactively. That way they're not getting big and causing blockages, which could lead to a backup. I'm going to end this recording now.